Welcome to the Winning in Business podcast. I'm your host, Kelli Risse, and I love talking to business professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs who are winning in business. Are you ready to reach your next level of success? If so, join us on the Winning in Business podcast as I interview entrepreneurs, business professionals, and leaders who share how they've risen to success. Before we begin, go ahead, hit subscribe and the notification button so you'll be notified each time a new episode is released. Plug in and settle in. You're about to be inspired to rise up to your next level of success. Welcome to another episode of Winning in Business. This is your host, Kelli Risse, and today we are talking about the peak performance life. And I'm so excited that we're talking about something that affects all of us. So we're going to talk about stress and how it impacts our performance. And you've probably heard people say things like, you have to hustle to succeed. Or if you're not struggling, you're not working hard enough. Or no pain, no gain. But honestly, it's not true. Pushing yourself too hard can actually hurt your performance and well-being in the long run. So today we're going to break down how you can recognize when you're heading towards strain or even burnout, and how to get yourself back into the ideal zone where you're not just surviving, but thriving. And this is the sweet spot where you're energized, engaged, and doing your best work without feeling overwhelmed. So I recently did multiple speaking engagements, and the topic I was speaking on was succeeding with ease. And this is really where this came from. And, we started talking about the stress zones, and I'm helping people really get a clear visual of what the stress zones are. And so I want you to imagine this curve that looks like a hill, right? The bell curve with 5 different zones in it and how stress is going to affect your performance. So we're going to look at each zone and then we'll move on from there. So the first zone is boredom. And this is when you're just not feeling challenged, right? Your tasks are too easy, you're on autopilot, and this is when you might feel disconnected and maybe even a little bored. Okay. The next zone is comfort. And this zone kind of gets a bad rap, but it's actually a great place to be because when you're in the comfort zone, you're engaged and focused, but not stressed out. You know what you're doing and you're doing it well. Next is the stretch zone. And this is where the magic happens. We love the stretch zone. You're a little outside your comfort zone, but in a good way. So you're learning, you're growing, you're pushing yourself just enough to stay motivated and energized, right? I want you to stop for a minute and remember a time when you were in the stretch zone. I mean, you were creative, you were in the flow, you felt the energy, like time was just like you didn't even know what time it was because you were in the zone. This is like the optimal place to be. And I feel like we all know when we're in the zone and we just want more of it, right? Okay, the next zone is strain. And now this is where things start getting a little tough. And this is where you're doing too much and you start getting overwhelmed. You start feeling anxious, a little more fatigued, and it starts taking a toll, right? And what happens here is your performance starts to slip because the stress is becoming too much. And not only does your performance start to slip, this is also where your self-care falls off, you're possibly more irritable, your relationships might start to fall off a little bit. Maybe you're not talking to your friends as much as you were. So there's a lot of like strain in all areas of your life when you're in this category. And then too much time and strain leads you right into the last category, which is burnout. Danger zone, danger zone, danger zone. And when you're burned out, you are completely exhausted, mentally, physically, and emotionally. You're checked out and you're no longer performing well. Like, this is a really tough place to be, and it takes a while to recover from. So our goal today is to help you stay in a place where you are in that comfort and stretch zone, where you're performing your best without falling into strain or burnout. All right, so now that we know the zones, let's talk about why we sometimes think pushing ourselves to strain and burnout is a good idea and why it's not. So here's the thing. A lot of people, including the clients that I typically end up working with, believe that if you're not constantly hustling, you're not doing enough to be successful. If your calendar is not full, you're not doing enough to be successful. If you're not working hard enough, you're not doing enough to be successful. It goes back to the no pain, no gain. And this really couldn't be further from the truth. If you're living in the strain zone and you're feeling stressed out and anxious all the time, you're hurting your performance, not helping it. And so I like to reframe that and say, no pain, more gain. Because when you come out of that strain zone and come into that stretch zone, you are pushing yourself just enough to grow. So you're challenged, but not overwhelmed. And that, my friends, is the sweet spot. In the strain zone, your energy is draining. Like, it just becomes harder to stay focused or creative, right? And we truly need more open space in order to let our creativity flow. And so when you're in the energy drain and the energy is just being sucked out of you and you feel all the pressure on your shoulders and your calendar is so full that you're just going here, there, and you don't even remember where you were the last place because you were so many places the last place. And this is what, again, leads to burnout, when you're just exhausted and checked out. And y'all, we cannot work, we cannot make money when we're burnt out. So although strain might feel productive in the short term, and it's kind of what society has taught us to do, in the long run, it's going to feel like you're running a marathon at a sprinter's pace. And quite frankly, you're going to burn out by mile, 2.5 running at a sprinter's pace. The marathon at a sprinter's pace is not going to go well for you. So we need to get rid of the idea that the constant struggle is equaling success, because it doesn't. It does not equal success. It equals everything is hard and everything is going to fall apart at some point. And we do not want that. All right, let's clear up another misconception. So the other thing that I find is, remember comfort. And the comfort zone is an amazing place to be. You're attentive, right? And you're really engaged. But the misconception is that comfort equals lazy. But when you're in the comfort zone, you're engaged, you're focused, you're doing great work. This is actually the zone where we build confidence and consistency. And it's where we can recharge. We can recharge without getting bored, right? Because what happens when we get to burnout is, in order to recharge, y'all, you're flat on your back on the couch, doing nothing. Your adrenals are fried, you have brain fog, and you can't even think. And that's really hard. So when you're in the comfort zone, you're still engaged and focused, but you can also recharge. Doesn't that sound lovely? Now, we don't have to stay in the comfort zone forever, because we do need to challenge ourselves. That's the stretch, right? Getting out of your comfort zone, challenging yourself to grow. But you could always come back to the comfort zone. I feel like what happens is we get in that comfort zone and we're like, panic, I'm not doing enough. What is happening? And then we leap from comfort to strain, because all of a sudden we freak out. right? We're high achievers. We are used to doing things, but we need to think about being high performers. And high performers live in that comfort and stretch zone, not in the strain. Okay. So comfort can be like a home base for you. It's a place to come back and refuel and refresh. So you can jump back into stretch when you're ready. Okay. So being in your comfort zone doesn't mean you're coasting and avoiding challenges. It means you're in control. I want to say that again. Get this in your head, like start reframing this. Being in the comfort zone means you're in control. No pain, more gain. Y'all, it's a good thing. All right, so how do you keep yourself in the comfort and stretch zones without slipping into the strain and burnout? So here's a couple practical tips. One, we have to be so self-aware. You have to be checking in with yourself. Pay attention. How are you feeling? Are you tired? Are you anxious? Are you starting to dread your work? Pay attention to your body. What signs is it giving you? The fatigue, the difficulty focusing, the mood swings, the irritability, the increased anxiety, sleep problems. Those are signs that you're in strain. Okay. And then if you're complete exhaustion, lack of motivation, frequent illnesses, poor decision making, if you just want to curl up in your bed and be by yourself, or you're really negative and have a lot of cynicism, easy for you to say, those are signs that you're in burnout and it's time to dial it back, right? So really check in with yourself, be super, super self-aware. Number 2, set boundaries. Whether it's at work or in your personal life, you have got to set limits. What are the hours of your day you're working? What time do you stop? And you need to decide that, and you need to hold yourself to that. Tell someone so that they also can help you be accountable for that. Say no to extra tasks. Say no to extra commitments. What commitments are draining your energy and you literally are like forcing yourself to have to do, because those commitments, it's probably time that you let them go and figure out a way that you can get out of them. And it's time for someone else who would be excited to do them to step up and do them. So the goal is to protect your energy so that you can keep performing at your best. Because if you make a commitment, even if it's volunteering for something, if you're making that commitment and you are dreading it, you're not performing at your best. And they probably need somebody who's going to be performing at their best. Number 3, take recovery breaks. Even when you're in comfort and stretch, make sure you are giving yourself breaks, whether it's a 5-minute breather, whether it's a day off. Are you someone that sets your own schedule and you're trying to do the 4-day work week, right? Make sure, are you someone that needs to be scheduling in at least 1 week off, 1 week vacation? Okay, think about that. This truly helps keep up your energy. Recovery is part of high performance. I think about the top athletes, right? Recovery. They are recovering in ice baths. They are recovering with a stretching, I'm going to call them a stretching coach, right? They are doing all these things to help their bodies recover because they have to. They have to be in recovery mode in order to be in high performance mode. We are the same. All right. And number 4, prioritize. Not everything you need to do has to be in the stretch zone. So figure out what tasks require your best energy and really make sure that those are in the time of day that you have your best energy, and then save the rest for your comfort zone, right? And then this way you're not spreading yourself too thin. And also look at when new commitments are starting to come in and people are asking you to do something or giving you new tasks or whatever, do you need to push out the deadline of that? Do you need to say, no, I cannot take on that commitment right now? You need to look and see if you're in your comfort zone, you can handle something else. If you're already in the stretch zone, how much more is going to push you into that strain zone? So you really have to be aware of that for yourself so that you can prioritize. And these strategies, they're just about finding balance and helping you succeed with ease. It's not about avoiding challenges, right? I'm not saying succeeding is easy. We're just talking about bringing in some ease into things. So it's not always so hard and we're not constantly running on empty. So it's time to figure out how you can stay in that comfort and stretch zone so that you're growing and thriving, and most importantly, staying healthy in your mind, your body, your spirit, and your relationships. All right, y'all. That is it for today's episode, talking about the peak performance life. Remember, success isn't about how much stress you can handle. Success is about finding balance in your life so that you are thriving in all areas of your life. Avoid the strain, avoid the burnout, so you are performing at your best. I hope you all found this helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend who might need to hear this also. And let's keep the conversation going. Also, I'd love to hear how you stay in your ideal zone. Let me know, what do you do to keep yourself in your ideal zone? All right, y'all, thanks for tuning in. And until the next time, rise up and live and keep winning in business. All right, y'all, see you next time. Thank you for being a part of the Winning in Business podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to rise up to your next level of success, but are worried about increased stress, time for work and yourself and your family, not to mention being exhausted, I'd like to invite you to a complimentary strategy call where I'll show you how you can do it all. I'll help you reclaim time, keep your sanity, handle the chaos with ease, and move to the next level of success that you deserve and desire. I hope you found value in listening today. Please always leave your comments, feedback, or questions. We check them all. I want you to continue winning in business and reach your next level of success. See you next time.